Hey, coworkers.
Welcome to Coworkers in Crime, the podcast where office chatter meets crime discussion.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Crystal.
Yes, we really do work together.
And yes, we're totally obsessed with true crime.
From Watercooler whispers to cold case deep dives,
we're here to bring you stories that keep us chatting way past our coffee breaks.
So grab your coffee,
lock your desk drawer, and let's get into this week's case. Okay, we haven't done one of these in a while. We are jumping into Watercooler whispers. We did have a couple of suggestions made to us. So, Sammy, we are going to fulfill our promise and let you know what Rachel thinks about the Guthrie case. So we will get into Guthrie, but Rachel and I both brought 3 cases. So, Rachel, do you want to talk about your first case you brought?
Yeah, so we're going to go to Colorado for this one. And this one definitely surprised me. And I don't know why I'm surprised, because there actually was something similar that happened in Massachusetts. So I assume it can happen anywhere. It just always surprises me when, the DNA scientists or anyone involved in cases, whether it's a drug lab, DNA science, police officers, whatever, like there's something that goes awry. So this case is a senior DNA scientist, Yvonne Missy Woods, who was working at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. She'd been on the job for almost 30 years, and she just pled guilty to manipulating DNA results. She deleted data, skipped steps, falsified documentation, and now more than 1,000 cases are under review.
That's a lot to sink in just in the first introduction.
Right?
Manipulating DNA, I can't wait to hear the motivation for that. To let people get away with it, or is it to pin people that didn't do anything? That's terrifying that the people behind the scenes are so corrupt.
Right. You would think that, and that's where, when we talked about in the CSI effect, was how much, or even in the US and the Canadian and the UK case with the cat DNA, how much people put trust into these scientists.
Yeah.
Into forensic science as a whole. So it really forces you to think of how much blind trust we have in forensic information.
Well, you believe the science. You didn't think about the scientist,
Right. And they're human. People are human. I get it. You want to do those things. So I guess it's just wild to me. It isn't even the first time that I've seen this. There were 2 scientists, 2 chemists in Massachusetts where Annie Dookhan and Sonja Farak, their misconduct ended up overturning more than 35,000 drug convictions. Let that sink in for a minute. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a number.
Their misconduct years are basically the same. They kind of overlap roughly from 2003 to 2013. Dookhan was faking results so that she could look like a superstar, and Farak was using drugs that she was supposed to be testing.
That one makes more sense to me because that's a clear, clean motive. You're stealing the drugs for yourself, or you're trying to get ahead at a job. Doesn't make it. I'm not saying that makes it right. I'm just saying, okay, I follow the train of thought at least. I don't understand the DNA one. Why delete things? And I don't understand.
Yeah, that one in Colorado will definitely be interesting to follow for a bit, because she's looking at quite a bit of time. Although less time than I thought she would be facing. She's facing 8 to 16 years in prison.
Yeah, you should do, life. How many people did you put away? Or how many people didn't get caught for killing someone because you're playing around and falsifying stuff?
Yeah, so there's all these scientists, there's a ripple effect to their actions. And I think we're going to see those play out in Colorado now. In Massachusetts, they saw it play out with 35,000 cases overturned because of these 2 women not doing what they're supposed to. So here's my question for you. Why do you think it takes so long to catch people who are the scientists who are doing these things?
Maybe the trust, trusting scientists, trusting that they actually are doing their job. Why would you for 1 minute even suspect that they aren't taking their job seriously? The drug one I could see, I would think there'd be really tight parameters around drugs because you want to know where it's going. And I feel like the chain of evidence would be really tight on those. But also I could see hey, it goes in there and that's where it stays because that's where they store it too. I don't know. That almost makes me wonder what are the chain of evidence protocols? How are we signing it in and out? Where are we storing it? How are we clearing the people who are doing it? Do we drug test the people who are watching them?
I don't know. I don't know
so
what
many
they're
questions.
doing. I have a lot of questions too. There's just a lot. And this one will be interesting to follow the Colorado one. Let's see how this one pans out, see if we get a motive. She pled guilty, so I don't know if we're going to hear anything else. That could be the end of it. Like, she pled guilty, prosecutors dropped over 100 charges and as part of the plea deal, so now she faces 8 to 16 years in prison.
That seems like a plea deal that protects the state, and she gets a sweetheart deal because the state's
Could
like,
be, yeah.
this ends up being like our due diligence problem as well. So what do you say we make an agreement?
And also, I wonder what's going to change in these labs now. Like, does somebody else have to verify your results? Which, raising hand, asking question, why wasn't that being done already? I
Yeah.
feel like more than one person should verify results because it can happen. You can get wrong results or misinterpret the results or whatever. And
Or
another set of
accidentally
eyes could see something different.
We'll see, and in her case, it was she deleted things. If you accidentally delete something, that's called human error. Skipping a step could also be I was tired, I didn't realize I missed that. Falsifying documents means intent. So
Right.
that's not like, whoops, skipped that box. My bad. I was tired. This is, no, I'm just going to put whatever I want there. And hey, you know what? I don't feel like doing that. Delete. It could have been laziness. It could have been, I just falsified that I ran it, even though I didn't. And this is conclusive. I don't know.
I don't know. So we'll watch this one. Let's see
Yeah.
what comes out of this. All right, let's move on to one of yours.
One of mine. So I picked ones that you knew about as well. And this first one's pretty short, but there's a lot of people talking about Alex Murdaugh, and he's getting his new trial, which starts on the 29th of June. So very fast here. For us, that's tomorrow. So
That is a fast retrial, isn't it?
so fast. Yes. And I don't know if you heard, but he's okay. So I'll go through this first. But so the South Carolina Supreme Court ruled that Alex Murdaugh didn't receive a fair trial because of the misconduct of former county clerk Becky Hill. Becky, well, according to court, Hill made comments to jurors during the trial that could have influenced how they view Murdaugh, especially when he testified. Because every defendant has a constitutional right to an impartial jury, the court unanimously overturned the conviction of the murders and has ordered a new trial. And, they interviewed jurors, they talked to them, they said, did this influence you? Becky Hill was writing a book and knew she was telling them things like, watch him closely, like, don't, like, pay attention to what he's saying, and like really heavily putting her thumb on the scale. But I mean, a lot of them said, yeah, she said these things. And I thought, well, she spends a lot of time here. She knows what she's talking about. I'm sure she knows what guilty looks like. But they felt it didn't really change. They didn't think their vote would have changed. But that doesn't matter. They don't think that. So they have to have no contamination. So they had to redo it. The important thing to point out is that the decision doesn't say that Murdaugh is innocent. It just says the process is flawed. So they're going to retry him. That in itself is
But I feel like we just talked about this on our last Watercooler Whispers, that he was getting a new trial, and now we're talking about his trial starting. I mean, that's such a short timeline.
less than a month. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
And
Yeah.
his lawyers, well, he's suing her, which he can't make money. It would go to his victims for his financial crimes that he's already been convicted of. But he's suing her for the fees that it cost him for his first trial because he used one of his IRAs, which was like $400,000 or something. So he's suing for that because his trial was wasted, basically. So he wants to sue her for that money, which is fair. I mean, he won't get it. And I mean, I think that's fair. I think it is fair for him to do that.
Yeah. No, I think this is, it's just interesting. But,
Mhm.
I kind of wonder, all right, she wasn't on the jury and she's influencing him. So I understand why we're doing a retrial. But then I start thinking about, what if there's a lawyer in the jury? What if there's a forensic pathologist or a police officer or any line that ties them into the criminal justice system?
That's
How do
happened.
those how do they separate? I'd be asking questions to them.
Mhm. It did happen. I think one of the people in the second Karen Reed trial was a lawyer, and they gain a lot of notoriety, and people do ask them to understand things. And I think but that's part of your peers. Your peers are made up of
Yeah.
lawyers and things, so they don't necessarily tell people they can't be on, but I mean, those people do get, I mean, I think that imagine if there's someone that is an expert in ballistics and they're on the case as a juror, and this is about a gun crime. Imagine how many questions and how elite that person looks to everybody else because they have so much knowledge. I mean, I would definitely trust that person a little bit more, but that's just part of what I guess that's
Right.
part of the makeup, but they can kick those people out. So I guess if
Right. They can
they
refuse
know
so many
that,
jurors.
yeah,
Yeah.
they can say, "Mm-mm, nope, nope, don't want you." But she would walk them from the jury box to their room, and she would just tell them, leak little. She said, "My book will sell better if he's guilty." She kept saying that. So she said she wanted a lake house. I cannot believe just because she did not her little slap on the wrist is not enough. It's just crazy. So
Yeah, she didn't get much time at all.
mm-mm. I don't
Yeah.
think she's serving any time. I don't think she'll serve any time. I think she just pled guilty and is
No,
paying
I thought
the
she was.
restitution. I thought,
Maybe it is restitution.
yeah, I think she's
Yeah.
just paying restitution for what she did, but
And
I
does her
couldn't.
book still get published?
No, I think that too. She can't make anything off of the book, and she had to pay I think she's broke too. That's why I don't know that it's going to do any good for him. Let me see if I can just find it. Research break.
Research break. We need music for this.
Yeah. So she pled guilty to obstruction of justice, perjury, 2 counts of misconduct in the office. She did not receive prison time. Instead, 3 years probation, 100 hours of community service, 11,880 in restitution. She said, "There is no excuse for my mistakes. I'm ashamed of them, and I will carry that shame with me for the rest of my life." Boo.
I think she's only saying that because she got caught. If she hadn't been caught, I don't think she would say that.
She would not. I mean, Justice Toll just didn't know what to do with the whole thing. I remember thinking this is really bizarre. But let me just throw this out there. If you were one of Maggie or Paul's family members, would you feel relieved that the justice system is protecting everyone's rights or frustrated that you have to go through this whole thing again?
I think a mixture of both, especially since that's the wife and son of a lawyer. They have lived and breathed in this
True.
legal system for
Yeah.
so long, and their families too. Their families have also lived.
Actions of
He's
lawyers.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like so their families now, I think, are probably looking at it as the legal system has to work, and it can't work just sometimes. It has
Yeah.
to work all the time.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, I can imagine that they understand that it protects everyone's rights, but the frustration probably goes from why was no one overseeing her? Why wasn't. But what do? You can't have oversight everywhere. And I guess to a point, you
Right.
start to trust that the county clerk is doing their job. So I don't know.
But
Another
why did
thing,
it take so long for it to come out?
I
I
think
mean,
that
that trial ended, I
it
feel
was
like, a couple years ago.
it was the jury. When the jurors started talking and being interviewed is when I think it first started to leak out. Is they were talking about Becky Hill in the book, and they were like, "How do you know about that?" And so then the prosecution or the defense was like, "Hey, wait, why would jurors even know that during the trial that she's writing a book?" And then they started asking more questions. And actually, I think one of the jurors called the defense and said, "Hey, this was funny to me, and I didn't think it should be happening." But at that time, they can't talk to each other, right? So I don't know. I think the jury raised trouble about it, if I remember right, but that's been a little bit. I mean, that this was being looked into for a while, but
Okay.
once they said we're going to come out, and I think it was, yeah, December of 25 is when she pled guilty. They started talking about it. His trial was in 23. I mean,
Really?
can you believe that? Yeah. Yeah. His 2023 murder convictions, that's just crazy. I can't believe that's happening. Retrials are one of my it's almost like getting to see an alternate dimension, like how this would have happened alternatively. And I really like retrials. I will be watching this one. It'll be on in the background. So,
I would not expect anything less.
do you think the prosecutors are going to do anything different this time?
I don't. I think that they had a case. I mean, as
Mhm.
circumstantial as it was, he was convicted. How much of your case do you change? I think retrials help the defense more than the prosecution.
Yeah. Yeah, because they know what you got to see what everyone said afterwards.
Right. What worked, what didn't work.
Yeah, because it's not like he was exonerated or a hung jury. It wasn't that. This is so rare that these things happen. I say rare, and it's also happening with that Stotch lady, Letitia Stotch, or whatever her name is. She's gross, but that's a horrible, horrible case. But she's getting a retrial as well. So, anyway, this is one that you will be hearing from us again. coworkers about because this is going on now and the retrial is happening now. So I'll be bringing updates here and there for the Watercooler Whispers in the month to come. All right. So another one is also one that you know a lot about, maybe even more so than I do, but Nancy Guthrie. There's some more developments that have been going on. Just not that she has been found, sadly, but there is now confirmed, investigators have confirmed that they're in the second ransom letter, which they now deem to be credible, that the persons sending the letter have claimed that Nancy had already passed shortly after they kidnapped her. It's been reported that her death was accidental. They expressed regret in the letter. They didn't ask for additional money. They didn't tell investigators anything about where to find her. And I think that kind of explains that second video that Savannah put out. That was like, we've gotten your message and we understand. We
Yeah,
want to
that was
pay.
heart-wrenching.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't, of course, no one else understood. But now that makes much more sense. That aligns a little bit better.
Yeah, but this one is still tough to follow just from, the human aspect. Everyone has a mother, and they hadn't been covering this on the Today Show a lot recently. And I was wondering if it was because Savannah's back, and you don't want to sensationalize it because
Yeah.
she's there. I mean, she was there when they talked about this second letter and this confirmation that her mom had passed accidentally. And it was so hard to watch. I don't think I've ever seen a case where the person that you're talking about is a relative or is the person that is now on screen. Yeah,
Reporting
it was
on
a tough one. It
Yeah.
was a tough one to watch. I know I teared up watching it. I think I sent it to you and Tracy, like, watch this, but have tissues ready. It's really hard to watch. And I mean, just knowing that she's gone and she's buried in nature. I mean, there's a lot of nature both in Arizona and over the border in Mexico.
Yeah.
Where do you start looking?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a big jump when the first letter is all about money, and the second, the tone just changes completely. That's I'm sure as the child of somebody, you're just like, wait, what? I mean, imagine the flip flops your brain is going through. Your mom is missing. The police say she walked off and wandered off and aren't taking it as a kidnapping right away, and then you're getting these ransom letters to all these public news sources, popular news sources saying we want money, and then now whoops, and then we can't find her, and there's an argument between this group of officers about that group, and I mean, what a mess. I just can't imagine what she's gone through, and you're in the public eye at a whole new level anyway. So I just feel Savannah has had such a different experience dealing with such a already unbelievable situation to be put in.
Yeah, and I mean, she's living this every single day.
Mhm.
And her family, her brother, her sister, and their families, their children, all those people are living this every single day. And we
Yeah.
hear snippets and can't even relate to what they're going through.
One
And then
thing
and then she has to be on TV,
Yeah.
a smile on her face, delivering the news.
Which she's done phenomenally. The
Yeah,
the way she's upheld herself has been didn't she just take on a new project? Do you know?
she did. Yeah, so she has a new show coming out in the fall. It is a word game, I believe it is.
Is it Wordle?
Like, it's based on Wordle, I think.
That's cool.
I just don't know how it's gonna be. So but now every time she's not on the show, I think people
That's where
jump
you
to a
know she's at.
conclusion.
Yeah. People
Well,
think
I think
she's
now that it's been put out there that the show is coming, that yes, I think, but when she would first be off before they announced it, I think everyone just jumped to conclusions that there must be something new coming out about the case with her
Mhm.
mom, and she's not on because they're gonna report about it, and that must be really hard to
Yeah.
witness and be there when it was reported on, so
Yeah. One thing
it's
Brian Enton from News Nation reported just earlier this week is that investigators are continuing to aggressively pursue the dig trail behind these communications. Authorities continue to believe that someone knows what happened. I mean, yeah, someone has to know what happened. I mean, someone out there knows what is going on, but this is and still remains an active investigation. Just because this letter came in, I don't think anyone should believe that she's gone. And if I am led to believe anything about Savannah is hope is never lost. So whether
right.
I mean, that's what the letter claims. I don't know that I mean, they're still doing these dig trails behind the communications to make sure that these are the same two people. And I think they believe that it is, but you can't Yeah, I don't I think it's just that's the claim that she's passed, but doesn't
Well, and then
necessarily
you
mean
have
she has.
that very recent letter that came into TMZ where the person claims to know who the 2 masterminds are or the
Mhm.
2 main people. I
It's
know
so f
watching that was so hard for me to what I can't, how's the family doing watching all these things? She's in the public eye. Her brother and sister are not, but I guess I'm sure they've dealt with it because of who Savannah is. But I think this takes it to a new level when it's a celebrity like that.
it's such a hard thing to go through on top of being a celebrity. I just can't imagine the compounding feeling. And like I said, she's handled it so well. I when I am upset about something, I don't know that my demeanor is the first thing that I am considering, which is not a brag. Like I surely wish it was different, but I'm not thinking about when if something traumatic and devastating, I don't think that I'm thinking of how well I'm coming off. I mean, I've definitely been fortunate to not deal with extremely traumatic issues, I feel, that I can think of that are in that kind of space where I can't deal with them privately. So, she just dealing with them publicly, I don't know how she's been able to do that. Maybe it's just because she's so used to being in the public eye that she knows she can't just react the way she wants outside of closed doors, but just not. I feel for her.
I do too. Like I said, I cannot imagine being in that situation and still having to be at your job and perform in front of a camera. It's one thing, I think, to have that if you had to go to an office job or some other job that's not in front of a camera where millions of people are going to be seeing you, it's a
Yeah.
little easier to have those bad days. She doesn't have, I feel like she doesn't have that luxury to have a
Mm-mm.
bad day in front of the camera. She has to constantly put up that front,
Yeah.
and I don't know how she does it.
Yeah, she deserves to be able to just be in it and deal with it. Well, lastly, I want to give a quick update on Karen Reed. And I told you I'm working on a way to put all of this together for those that have asked for some sort of deep dive into Karen Reed. It would definitely be, it's going to take some time because putting together everything about the first trial that is relevant and everything about the second trial that is relevant to go into the several civil trials that are happening right now. I think it's 4 or 5 different civil trials going on at the same time. They did try to lump them together, but the judge wasn't having that.
And to
And
be
a lot,
honest, we did try and do this one as our
we
first
did.
episode,
I'm gonna have to go
but
back and watch it just because 'cause I'm
we
so curious.
we went so sideways, and I feel like we just went on this spiral, and there was no way we could release that as our
I
first
don't think I
episode.
have ADHD, and I am damn certain you don't, but you would never have known it listening to that because it was like, "Oh, remember this and remember this." Like, we were
We
not
were we Yeah,
not composed
it's the reason we didn't submit it as our first episode because we probably would have lost all of our listeners that
immediately. Yeah.
first
Like,
episode.
I know I'm not subscribed, but how do I unsubscribe? Never show me again. So, remember that Karen Reed was acquitted of second-degree murder in the criminal trial. But the legal process isn't over. John O'Keefe's family has filed wrongful death lawsuit against Karen. And that case is now in what's called the discovery phase. And discovery is basically where both sides exchange information, request documents, and take depositions before civil trial ever begins. And I will tell you, I know I say this all the time. One of my favorite things to do is I do not watch Netflix really. Everyone's always like, "Oh, have you seen this show, this show?" And I'm like, "No," because I'm watching Trial all the time and rewatching old Trial and rewatching old clippets and pulling up pre-motions, and I cannot help but do that. So I've not seen what's going on, but I can tell you what's happening in Discovery. So right now is some of the most chaotic things going on in the every lawyer I watch on YouTube is like, this is unbelievable. This is almost unheard of. These things never happen. Every few weeks, they're having another hearing to keep the judge up on what's happening because depositions have been canceled and pushed. And he's telling them, we are not going into the fall on this. You are getting discovery done. And he has kept their feet to the fire. And unbelievably, the stuff that is happening.
Funny, I haven't actually followed too much of the civil trials. I just hear little snippets on the news, like Proctor's
Yeah.
deposition that they tried to delay, and they kinda got it delayed because the judge said, "No, you need to do it," and then
And
neither
they
lawyer
couldn't.
was available on the day the judge said to do it, so they had to reschedule it anyway to another day, and I was like, Wait, what?
Yeah,
So I haven't followed the civil trials probably as closely as I did her retrial, because even the first trial, I think I got more information from you than and from
Mhm.
watching the news, but I just didn't follow it as closely.
Yeah. Well, so what happened with Proctor, they deposed him. He put it on the books to be seen. And the night before, he tried to cancel, which was a Sunday. And the judge was like, no, everybody get in here. He pulled them all together, wanted to find out why. It was Monday morning. And they said they gave all this information over. They weren't going to release why because it was HIPAA related, they said, in private. So, which is fair. Totally fair. We don't need to know exactly why. He's trying to. The judge says, nope, not a good enough reason. He needs to go to his deposition. It needs to be in the morning. And they were like, thanks, Judge, but we can't do tomorrow. And I think what happened was Alan Jackson lives in California. He doesn't live up in Canton. So he's flying up for these. He flew up and was going to fly out Monday afternoon after the deposition. And I think by the time the judge said, okay, let's meet this morning, told Proctor's lawyer, you need to get more information to me because this isn't enough. I'm going to give you until 4:45 this afternoon to give me the rest of it. By the hearing that afternoon, someone was in Alan Jackson's place saying, I'm here on behalf of Alan Jackson. And I was like, he jumped on a plane. And no one expected, I think, for the judge to say, well, let's just do it tomorrow. They hadn't planned on that. They probably had 2 days planned, but Alan was going to do the first part and then someone would they have their own pieces. And what's really frustrating is the court is like, okay, y'all have so many lawyers on this. And that's true. Have you seen Karen's lawyer team? She probably has. I mean, that might have to be a research break. She probably has 10 lawyers. But the problem is because there's 5 different lawsuits, they're not all doing the same things. Everyone has their
Right.
part. So if you're you're deposing this person and that's not part of this person's information, they don't know what questions to ask or how on the fly to pivot to something else having to do with the discovery they need. So Proctor, they had just released all these new heinous text messages. I don't even know any other word than vile. I mean, and we thought the ones from the first trial were so disgusting. These are disgusting, disturbing, and vile and horrible. And that is whatever. That's not a crime to be vile, horrible, and as all the horrible things he is. What's a crime is that you are an officer of the law and are these things impacting the way you do your job? Are you planting evidence or are you not serving and protecting properly because you don't like the person that you're supposed to be protecting? And that's what these text messages raise speculation of. So, from what I've learned, he did end up going to get deposed, I think Wednesday or Thursday. It started late on his request and it ended early at his request, is how Rosenberg said it. The speculation and what people are saying is he had a panic attack. So, that could be true. I mean, I can imagine if you're about to read all these text messages back to me, I'm probably going to have a panic attack too. But Karen sat for a full day of depositions that same day, and I'm sure this isn't fun for her either. So Karen has sat for a full day of deposition. Her sister-in-law has sat for a full day of deposition. Another really important piece is Colin Albert. Colin signed up for the Army in the middle of all this, and now he is at basic. And so they keep saying, well, he can't be deposed until fall. And his lawyer is saying, we can't pull him out of basic. If we pull him out of basic, because basic is in pieces. So you go to part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever. If they pull him out now, he has to start over from the beginning. They don't want you going from one, taking a huge break and going back. You have to follow it through in the order that they have it in for you. So this would restart his basic clock if he were to pull out. But they're trying, I think, now to figure out, when you apply for the military, it asks if you have any pending legal issues. And if he answered that incorrectly, that's going to be a big problem. And so it's just really weird timing. So that one is something that just came up. Let me find the exact way to tell you what happened with that. But they basically said that, here it is. So they asked to compel Colin to show up, that, hey, he has to. Well, the court denied it. They said, we're not doing that. We're going to do that without prejudice, though. And denial without prejudice, meaning that they can ask for it again in the future. So if you deny something with prejudice, it's done. Don't ask me again. This is finished. This can't be revisited. This is saying, I'm not going to compel him yet, but I might ask again. It's like the 8 ball, ask again later. Like he's just ask me again later. So he's not forcing him right now, but I think it's because he's allowing, like, get with his commanding officer, and see what you can get worked out. So he has tasked Colin's lawyer with that. The significant part is that they did just, I think this was on the 26th, they just said that the motion to compel documents is allowed. So the argument has been that Karen's team canceled on Colin and that Colin said, I have these days available. I'm already sitting for one of the other civil trials. I'm not a party to this particular one, whatever, all this blah, blah. But he gave them like a few dates to pull from and said, but the problem is that they weren't going to sit with him until they had the documents. They wanted text messages from the time trial was going, from the day that John passed, so January 28th of 22 through June 18th of 2025. That's what they wanted, all his text messages from that time. And of course, he doesn't. He's like, I can't hand that over. I don't have that. Well, the judge did just agree to. There is a motion to compel. So, sorry, they were supposed to sit. The reason that Karen's group said, look, we're going to have to do this another time is because until we have these documents, we can't depose you. We can't ask you these questions until we have the documentation to question you about. So we need the documentation first. So the judge got really kind of fussy. I love him because he gets super fussy very, very, very easily. But he said, be careful how you say that they canceled on you because they didn't cancel. They didn't have the documentation. So until they have the documentation, they can't sit with him. So that was kind of like, hey, quit playing with the words of this. So they did now say that they have to produce January 28th, 2022 to June 18th, 3.5 years of communications to or from Karen between them and Colin. Karen, John O'Keefe, Michael Proctor, Courtney Elberg, Carrie Roberts, Chris Albert, Julie Albert, Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Matthew McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Allie McCabe, Brian Albert Jr., and Yuri Buchanan. But only, so not just every text message for 3.5 years with all those people, if those communications relate to circumstances surrounding JOK's death, any law enforcement investigation, or the alleged plan that Karen claims existed to exonerate certain individuals and implicate her. So basically anything that is part of the story that she believes is what really happened. So that's a lot that's going on right now with at least Colin. And then there's a lot of people who haven't been showing. I know that there are now all these motions to compel being filed tomorrow morning and Tuesday into the early parts of the week this week because multiple people haven't shown. Julie Albert just didn't show up for hers. That was scheduled. There was no cancellation or anything. She just did not show. My understanding is both McCabe's, I think Allie McCabe did show for hers though. So Allie McCabe has shown Karen and the sister-in-law. Those are the depositions that I believe have been taken care of. The rest of them, Colin did sit for one before he left with his own lawyers, but not with the opposing lawyers. So yeah.
This one has a lot going on. I didn't realize how much was going on. I mean, I
There's
knew
so
there was a
much
lot
happening.
going
Yeah.
on, but not, I guess I hadn't been paying attention as well as I should have been. But I have you as my Karen Reed expert. So
am obsessed. It's not even lightly. I can't even say sort of a little bit. It I was listening to it. We had a long drive home, been traveling for like 6 straight days, and I was listening to it and my husband was like, "What are you smiling at?" And I was like, "It started a couple hours late." He had a panic attack. Like I thought it was funny, but I was like who knows if that's really what happened? That's just who knows. But if that's true, of course he did. I would too. Like I would be panicking to
Right.
have to sit there and answer to these things in a room with Alan Jackson. Can you imagine what that day was like for him?
I think just answering any questions in front of a lawyer would make me nervous.
Yes. And it's Alan Jackson who
Whether or not I was involved or not. But I
Yeah.
feel like if you have me in a room, it's being recorded, we're going over some questions. I mean, I have to really sit there and obviously you got to tell the truth.
Mhm.
And I would also probably be a nervous wreck and not want to do it because that would stress. I mean, I don't know how you're not stressed. If you can go into that and just be like, "Pff, I'm good." Like,
Yeah.
no.
Some people are very cool, calm, and collect under pressure. I don't feel that this guy is one of those people. Like, I don't think he does well under pressure.
She has this recorded. Now that's evidence if I go missing.
So yeah, this was this was a. I mean, we got this done pretty quickly actually, but I'm looking forward to. I will continue watching the civil stuff of everything that's going on here, and Murdaugh. Like, I will be keeping an eye on those two for sure.
I think that one will definitely be coming up in a soon-to-be-released Watercooler Whispers.
Absolutely.
And also we'll just do a little teaser because we didn't cover it this time. We'll definitely cover it next time, is the scientists that have all gone missing and the conspiracy chatter that is out there about that. Now, you're one to jump in on a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, head first.
You dive right in. I'm like, I'm going to stick my toe in the water. Is it warm? Is it cold? Like, I'm not diving head first in. You do. That's where we differ a little bit.
But like I said, I've got my little like asterisk there, like footnote. Yes, I love conspiracy theories and I gobble them up. I think they're so interesting. But my little rule of thumb is I believe that 3 out of every 10 things you hear in a conspiracy theory are absolutely true. And the other 7 things are made to try and make the pieces fit. And even 2 of those are so wild, like, the White Rabbit did it. Like there's always something really bizarre that you're like, okay, you're just trying to get me to slowly gobble up everything you're saying, but I find it fascinating. One of my favorite ones is Bigfoot. I love hearing conspiracy theories about Bigfoot because it's like the most credible people I've ever seen that I believe the most, because they're so credible. These are not like people that you're like, okay, like, did you drink all the moonshine in one sip? Like, like, why do you sound absolutely crazy right now? But it's not those kinds of people. These are people who are absolutely credible that are like, yeah, I saw it, and they have their own language, and like you can hear them, and when they come around, you can feel them. Like I just think those are fascinating. But yes, I am ready to jump into the scientists. We don't have to get too wild about it.
Around Halloween, we may have to just do a conspiracy theory episode about Bigfoot. What's the Nessie?
Nessie, love Nessie.
There's one in Vermont.
There's
a lake in Vermont, and they have their own version of Nessie.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, things come out about people who've seen things.
I think sometimes just to razz me, my daughter will send me a message about Megalodon isn't real. And I'm like, do you need me to call you right now? Like, you don't know that. You don't know that Megalodon is not real.
Oh, see, now those are fighting words for me because you know how much I love sharks.
Yes,
so that is.
I don't want to hear any absolutes that there's no Megalodon. You have no idea what you're talking about. Have you been in the Mariana Trench? No. So you don't know. Because there very well could be one down there.
Look forward to this fall's conspiracy theory episode.
Follow us for more conspiracy theories.
Follow us that'll be a nice little break, I think, from some of our harder cases.
Which we need sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next Watercooler Whispers, we'll talk to you later, coworkers.
Bye. That wraps up this week's episode.
Thanks for listening, whether you're at your office, at your home, or somewhere in between. We're glad you're here.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Like what you heard? Leave us a review and share it with your coworkers.
Got a case you want us to cover or office drama that feels criminal? Send it to us at coworkers.crimepodcast@gmail.com or check the episode notes for all of our social handles. Until next time, coworkers.
Stay curious, stay safe, and stay caffeinated.